Ever wonder what goes on behind the scenes of rock history? Here's a snippet from a recent episode of Booked on Rock. Greg Prato returns. Your brand new book is titled I Am One, The Smashing Pumpkins Story 1988 to 1994. Before the Pumpkins formed, he went through several earlier bands like Hexen, Coat of Eyes, and some of Mark's material has surfaced on YouTube. I haven't listened to it, but you note that he still had a ways to go with writing memorable songs around that period. He was in Florida at that time. During that same period, Billy saw the Red Hot Chili Peppers play in a tiny club and also caught a performance by Bad Brains. We'll talk about the impact those shows had on his mindset as a musician.
And also, I just want to ask you: did you ever see video footage of his high school band called Hexen? Did you see that?
No.
I highly recommend you and all the viewers check it out on YouTube. There is a guitar solo that he does. He's down at one of the members' basements, I guess is where they used to rehearse. And he does, I talk about that in the book. He does a guitar solo that's like beyond Yngwie Malmsteen. You're going to be a very big fan of it, especially if like listening to Van Halen and also Yngwie and Randy Rhoads and all that stuff that was popular at the time.
Right, because we find out years later he is a fan of those bands and those guitarists. He ends up interviewing Eddie.
Yes,
exactly. Was it Guitar World?
It was Guitar World in 1996. I remember right. I remember buying the issue on my way to work back in 1996.
Yeah. He's a huge Van Halen fan, and he just had on his own show. He had Stephen Pearcy from Rat.
Yes, he did. Yeah. That's one thing that Billy Corgan has always been very vocal about. In the 90s, it wasn't so cool to say that you liked 80s metal, but I remember in interviews as early as 94, 95, he was name checking Judas Priest and also albums and bands by them. Right. So especially the British Steel album, I remember he mentioned. Yeah, so he talked about that.
But the Chili Peppers and Bad Brains really formed his sound.
Yes. Yeah, like the mid 80s, of course, that we're still a few years before Nirvana, Nevermind changed everything. And alternative is still pretty much totally underground. The Red Hot Chili Peppers only have one or two albums. The Bad Brains have a few albums, but they sadly never get really a major label shot until the 90s, and it's not nearly as good as what they were doing in the 80s. But he is lucky to see those two bands at their peak. I believe that would have been the Chili Peppers when Hillel Slovak was still in the band, and that's considered their best lineup. And the Bad Brains, that's their peak too. That's around the time of Eye Against Eye, which is my favorite Bad Brains album ever. That's a great, great album. But yeah, I think by seeing those two bands, that shows him that there's more than just. He seems like in high school he went from metal to being into alternative then goth. It seems like he goes from listening to metal, then he goes to Jesus and the Mary Chain and Depeche Mode. And then also REM, I know he was into in the 80s as well. So it seems like maybe through the Bad Brains, because the Bad Brains Eye Against Eye album, that's definitely a melding of a bunch of different styles of music, like reggae, heavy metal. It's probably their first hard rock, heavy metal-ish type album. There's a little bit of funk, not that much, but on later albums, they had some more funkier stuff. But maybe seeing the Bad Brains and also the Chili Peppers maybe expanded his horizons and also showed that there was maybe something on the horizon that was going to be coming, soon, that was going to give us a much needed alternative to all the bad hair metal that was popular at the time. I was thinking around the time I was doing this book, going back and listening to all the solos, Billy Corgan, I would think, is my favorite guitarist that came out of the 1990s, to be honest with you. I think his solos are great. The thing I talk about also in the book, why I loved Smashing Pumpkins so much, especially at the time in 1991, at that point, I'm just transitioning away from strictly listening to heavy metal and listening to alternative and funk and all other styles of music. And the Smashing Pumpkins were definitely a bridge type band, like them, Soundgarden, Faith No More. That for people that were into heavy metal, it showed you that you could still do heavy music, but you could also inject alternative and also other different styles. It's not, you don't have to stay in just one lane. And that's absolutely what Billy Corgan did. And yeah, his soloing on especially the first two Smashing Pumpkins albums have some of my favorite solos. Like the solo to Cherub Rock is great. The solo in Siva I love. The solo in Geek USA. There's a great B-side called Starla, which is like a 10-minute long song. and the solo is like a good 4 or 5 minutes, and it's just him just shredding, but not shredding doing mindless like that, that that type of stuff. But it's like, very it's like notes placed properly. He can play fast, but just I love his phrasing and it's melodic playing. So yeah, so Billy Corgan is absolutely one of my favorite guitarists.
Catch the full story on your favorite podcast app.